Hi, 4th, 6th, and 7th period. I finally got 3 of you together, so now I only have to read twice. Second period's kind of a little bit further behind, but I got 3 of you combined. Okay, so chapter 48 is called Hide and Seek, and the last time we read, Fig and Stubbs had just gotten what we think is killed by the night gardener up in the locked room with the green door. But the door just opened and the night gardener's coming out, so everyone else is trying to flee quickly. Kip staggered down the gravel drive, his arms over Alistair's shoulder, trying to keep a pace. "We need to draw him to the woods on the far side of the island," he said. "We'll be safe there." He knew a place where the tree's roots had not yet grown, a place where the night gardener couldn't reach them. They only had to get there alive. A furious howling swept down the drive, nearly knocking him over. "He's too fast," Kip said, gasping. "We'll never outrun him." "We don't need to." Alistair veered off the driveway onto the lawn. He let go of Kip, who collapsed to the grass. "I'll meet you at the woods," he said, and dropped to his knees. Kip watched him disappear behind a nearby hill. Once in the shadows, he was completely hidden from view. The sky overhead was lit by a harvest moon, which shone bright over the lawn. Kip lay flat on the ground. He tried to remember the hours they had spent playing in the lawn. "It's just like hide and go seek," he told himself, only he knew it wasn't. This time, getting caught didn't make you it. Getting caught made you dead. He closed his eyes, wishing desperately that he had something to hold, wishing that he had courage. Kip heard a howling behind him. He peered over the top of the hill. The gardener stood in front of the house, searching the grounds. Kip pressed his body to the grass, making himself as flat as possible. Slowly he raised up one elbow and pulled his body a few inches forward. He did this over and over again until he was one hill closer to his destination. The crawling hurt, not just his bad leg, but his whole body. He thought of Molly and the Windsors. If he didn't reach the woods, they were lost. Kip kept an ear to the air, trying to tell the night gardener's location by the sound of the wind. A shadow slid over his body, and he felt a shiver in the air. He looked up to see the gardener beside him, his lightless eyes scanning the tree line. Kip stared at him, afraid to move, afraid to breathe. "Puck!" A rock struck the night gardener's back. He snarled, turning away from Kip. "Over here!" shouted a voice. Alistair appeared from behind a nearby hill. He blew a raspberry and then disappeared into the grass. The gardener stormed after him, a cyclone of leaves in his wake. Kip could hear the gardener searching the lawn where Alistair had been. He grabbed a rock next to him, pulling himself upright, and threw the rock as hard as he could. "Puck!" It was perfect shot. The night gardener's hat tumbled from his head. Kip let out a triumphant laugh and then dropped down. By the time the gardener reached the spot, Kip was already gone. Pluck, 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 pluck. The two boys slowly worked their way along the lawn, throwing rocks as they went. The gardener raced from hill to hill, enraged and confused. Kip grinned, feeling a thrill that was altogether new to him. He and Alistair were working as a team, doing something that neither of them could have accomplished alone. Kip saw a row of moonlit trees just ahead. Somehow, impossibly, he had made it. He heard a snarling sound as a gust of wind knocked him backward. He rolled over to see the gardener racing toward him, his clothes tattered, a halo of angry leaves swirling around him. "Alistair!" Kip called, trying and failing to pick himself up. Kip saw movement from the corner of his eye. "Run!" Alistair shouted, grabbing hold of his arm. Kip felt his body jerk across the ground as the two of them staggered into the woods. Chapter 49 is Lamp Oil. Wind slithered in a circle around the house, sending leaves high into the air. Fig and Stubbs' horse had run off in the storm, but Galileo was still there, waiting for instructions. "As loyal as you are stubborn," Molly said, patting his flank. The horse gave a nervous snort, raking the gravel with his hoof. Molly went back inside to fetch Penny. The girl was not injured, but she was frightened, and she gripped Molly tightly around the neck. Molly lifted her over the side of the wagon. "Watch your feet," she said, setting the girl into the wooden bed. Penny scrambled to her knees and gripped Molly's hand. "Will Kip and Alistair be safe from the night man?" Molly stared into her face, wishing she knew how to answer. She wanted to tell her a story to make her feel better, to make her brave, but there was some things that stories couldn't do. The truth is, Miss Penny, I don't know. She patted the girl's hand. But I wouldn't worry just yet. Brothers are sneaky. Penny nodded sagely. That's true. An angry gust of air swept past Molly and struck the wagon, nearly topping Galileo. Easy, boy, Molly said, grabbing his tackle. She pulled her hair from her eyes, looking toward the wood. Kip was out there somewhere, and so was the night man. For a moment she almost thought she could hear his shouts echoing in the wind. She hoped desperately that she was wrong. I have you, my love. Just a few more steps. Master Windsor appeared in the doorway, holding Constance in his arms. The woman was clinging to his neck, her head on his chest. Her eyes were open and her body heaved with shallow, pained breaths. I have you, Bertrand whispered. I have you. Molly pushed aside the canisters of oil to make room in the bed of the wagon. Sorry, ma'am, it's hardly a coach and four. Master Windsor laid his wife down as one might lay a paper boat in the water. Molly shut the gate. We'll get 'em both to safety, sir, and then wait by the road for Kip and Alister. She indicated for him to climb aboard. Bertrand nodded but did not move. His eyes were fixed on the woods, a black mass crest by moonlight. That thing is after them, he said. They'll be fine. She said as much to herself as to Bertrand. Kip's outrun the night gardener before. He knows a special place where the monster cannot follow. But they might not reach that safe place, Bertrand snapped. Your brother's lame. Alister's just a boy. He ran a shaking hand through his hair, no doubt imagining his only son alone in the darkness. Or was he imagining his parents on a night like this all those years before? A hollow roar shook the valley. It's no use thinking about it, sir. Kip and Alister brought us some time, and we best take it. They're on their own now. Bertrand fixed his eyes on her. But what if we could help them? You said the only way to stop the night gardener is to kill the tree. Molly shook her head. I don't know for sure. Bertrand reached over the side and seized one of the oil canisters from the bed. So let's kill the tree and find out. Chapter 50 is Moonlight. Up that way, Kip called, pointing toward the path of light in the distance. He and Alister raced through the moonlit woods, black branches all around them. They were running toward the ancient garden at the edge of the island, the place the night gardener could not reach. If we can just make it to the patch of light, we'll be safe. We'll make it. Alister adjusted his grip around Kip's side, putting more of Kip's weight onto his own body. Kip glanced up at the boy, whose face was set with determination. The gardener's howl rang out behind them. The wind struck Kip's back, knocking him to the ground. Kip cried out as pain wrenched through his side. Branches rattled as the night gardener appeared to burst from the shadows behind them. He was not walking slowly as he usually did. He was running, his face lit white by the moon. Come on! Alister grabbed Kip, pulling him up from the ground. They staggered over rocks and roots. So long as they could still see the glowing light, they had hope of survival. Kip thought of his sister back at the house. She and the others could be on the wagon by now, almost safe. Kip doubled his speed, his eyes fixed on the shining garden, now less than 100 feet away. The wind stopped around them, and Kip could tell their pursuer had slowed his pace. He glanced back to see the gardener standing with both hands outstretched. The man uttered a low, inhuman moan as he worked the air like a weaver at his loom. Why'd he stop? Alister said, gasping for breath. The night gardener's call grew louder. A chill slid up Kip's spine, and he felt the wind change, coming alive. Cold mist lifted from the ground, shivering the treetops as it rose higher and higher into the air. Kip peered up through the moonlit branches. The sky, he said. It's changin'. The mist swirled and condensed above the treetops, forming an impenetrable fog that blocked out the stars and covered the moon. Kip looked back at the night gardener. In the fading light, he caught a final image of the man's face, contorted in a tight smile. And then the woods went dark. We gotta keep moving now. Kip grabbed Alister's arm, but when he turned toward the garden, he saw nothing but a wall of darkness. "Which way?" Alistair said, panicked. Kip scanned the shadows, looking for light to guide them, looking for safety. The moon had been blotted out, and with it, their only hope. Okay, I'm going to stop there. Be back tomorrow. Have a good rest of your day.